The highs and lows of the Tactical 22 is what I'm going to call this video. We are checking out a dusty, dirty, grimy Smith & Wesson M&P 1522 just coming out of testing and review here in the Nutnfancy project. Hello world, TMPers, this is of course Nutnfancy, and it is a good feeling to finally get the 1522 review done. I know, it takes me a while sometimes, but I'm thorough. You guys know that. Thousands and thousands of rounds shot between the guns on this table. Forming my philosophy, actually not forming, but help clarify my philosophy on the type, the Tactical 22. Representing today, we got the SIG 522, previously reviewed, highly recommended by me, Nutnfancy. You'll see the annotations pop up in the video. Of course, the 1522 by Smith & Wesson, outstanding example of the type. In the background, kel-tec SU22, and over yonder upper corner, that there is the Nutnfancy Run and Gun Special, Ruger 1022, wearing Duracoat and Coyote Brown. Love it. Great guns, fun guns. Lots of reasons I need to make this video. One, I do tabletop reviews, and it's going to be easier for me to break out the philosophy of use of Tactical 22s in this video separately, and I can make reference to it in perhaps future reviews. Secondly, I need to define what a Tactical 22 is for TMPers, for my audience, my subscribers. There are a lot of, there is a lot of confusion on the definition. I'm going to give you my definition, what works for me. After that, I'm going to show you features, which I think are mandatory to have if you're going to consider a gun to be a Tactical 22. Nice to have features. Then we'll jump into philosophies of use, and I'll talk about the highs and lows, the advantages of the type, Tactical 22, and the disadvantages of the type. First up, where the idea of this video came from. Latter part 2009, planning Armed Serenity 2009 with some guest shooters here in the Nutnfancy project, sending out emails telling them at the time to maybe bring their Tactical 22, that we may be doing some drills at night on steel. By the way, we did just that. I showed you, I think in the last part of Armed Serenity 2009 actual, us doing that. And some of the players, you know, emailed back and they go, hey man, that sounds great. What's a Tactical 22? And they were clueless. They're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I realized that my definition incorporates a lot of features that people may or may not understand, or even perhaps see the need to have on a 22. Okay? There's several ways you could approach the definition, and that's where we're going to go first in this video. Defining the Tactical 22. You could say, well, Tactical 22 is one you would use for survival purposes. Okay, maybe, and that is definitely a POU. I've discussed it in some of the tabletop reviews. Don't laugh. When SAWC size and weight constraints are important, that might be the only thing that you can haul around. Okay, so in that philosophy of use, maybe that could be a Tactical 22. Maybe to some guys, Tactical 22 is one that looks like this. And again, I'm using the 1522 because it's such a good representation of the type. You know, it looks like an AR-15, an M4. It has that militaristic look that a lot of guys dig, and it's just cool looking. To them, that's a Tactical 22. You know what though? Not to me. Tactical 22 and in my reviews means a very specific thing. It means that the gun is capable of performing advanced tactical carbine drills. Yep. It means it's ready for such drills in rain, snow, sleet, wind, dust, day, night. In other words, a Nutnfancy style run and gun, just like you've seen with the 1522. You know, did the firefight drill running the Tactical 22s, so fun. We've done some other things with the Armed Serenity series. Sledgehammer's been centerfire, but that's another drill, kind of representative of what we do here in the Nutnfancy project. And there's more to come, kind of like my older, what were they called, the desert gunnery videos. We're doing some night shooting with AR-15 CMMG 22 conversions. Fun. Okay, advanced tactical carbine drill in the Nutnfancy project is demanding. Okay, because we're first up running a lot, getting out there in the desert, wherever we're going, maybe other locations in the future. You're exercising. I mean, you talk to guys who've come out to the runs. It's exhausting. You know, you're beat. Along with that, you're doing lots of rounds sent down range, especially with rimfire. You can really get the rounds count up. We'll talk about that later. Nice. And then you're doing transitions to pistol, back to carbine, back to pistol. You know, back and forth you go. So you're using actually two guns in the drill. generally speaking. Oh, and by the way, you shoot on into the night, especially in the wintertime when it gets dark early. You know, so your tactical 22 needs to be light equipped. It is a facsimile for the tactical carbine in this POU, I guess, or I should say definition. It's ready to rock and roll doing those types of drills. Okay, so that's what I mean by tactical 22. It's equipped. Okay, on to the features which I feel define the tactical 22. The first ones I want to cover are mandatory in my book. Again, you may differ in your opinion. That's totally cool. This is what works in the Nutnfancy project. First up, it has to have a threaded muzzle. Okay, not just for looks. I do like the threaded muzzle and the flash hider for looks. I think it completes a tactical 22, makes it look cooler, most definitely. But also, what if you want to throw a suppressor on there? And later on, we do suppressor drills here in TMP. A threaded muzzle is very important in my opinion. Do you need a flash hider for a rimfire gun? Nope. I mean, little sparks come out the muzzle. You've seen that before. Very minor. It's not really functional with a rimfire. It's mostly for looks, but in my book, you might need it for suppressors, and we're going to be doing some of that in the future in TMP. Mandatory feature. Next up, a rail of some sort, preferably exactly the type the 1522 is wearing. A quad rail, Picatinny variety, that allows us to attach, I don't know, maybe a vertical grip. You like that? Maybe you want to slam a bipod up there, and we've done drills in TMP using the bipod. Because remember, what we do in TMP is we're testing gear, but we're also training. We're training with our own systems. And maybe your AR-15, your precision rifle, whatever sort, has a bipod on it. Kind of like that high value, pretty darn good bipod, the UTG one that I reviewed. You know, you slam that on here. You need rail space for that. VG, bipod, very important. The light. There's the outstanding 4.7s, actually 4.7's Quark 123 Turbo. Previously reviewed, recommended high value weapon light. You know, really good out to about 50 yards. Shooting on into the night, you know, a lot of the drills take place in the night here in the Nutnfancy project. If you are not light equipped, if you don't have the rail space to put on a light, kind of like, honestly, the 522 is lacking because SIG, still hasn't stocked their Picatinny rail that goes on there in their shop. I keep checking back over and over again. It's still gone. So that's why it's not sitting there. I want to put the specific rail on this 522 instead of doing my own. I could easily attach, you know, ergo variety, streamlight illuminator, all that stuff. You're going to need rail space. Another reason to shoot at night, to practice. It is an entirely different skill set. Like I've said in lots of videos, talked about in the desert a lot. If you haven't done it, don't knock it. It's tougher than you think. You got smoke in your way. It obscures your optics. You know, when there, excuse me, there's no wind. It's a learning process. Another reason to have a lot of rail space. Okay, lights, bipods, VGs. You got to have rail space to fit all that. Mandatory for a tactical 22. Next up, I'm going to reverse the gun for this one. Attachment for a single point sling. This is the main reason I was so stoked to see the MOE version by Smith & Wesson. You know, does it make or break the 1522 for me? No. I mean, I can easily throw on a single point sling attachment myself, but the work's done for me and it's factory quality. Flush mounted sling. Got to get a drink. Hang on. Yeah, I'm stoked. Anytime I can get something already done, factory variety, factory level quality, I'm really stoked. Of course, I like all the other things I said in the review. You know, the M-Bus sights, MOE furniture, they're all excellent. That single point sling, though, is mandatory because of the transitions we do in our drills. Maybe that a lot of other people do. I don't know. You know, let's say you start out with a carbine, bam, 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 out of ammo. You're going to practice going to your pistol. Okay, what are you going to do with your rifle? You're going to drop it on the ground? Well, if you have your single point sling set up, you know, and here's the 1022, you're ready to rock and roll, dude. You know, just drop it to your side like you see us doing here in TMP. Off to the races you go. Mandatory. Does it have to be a single point sling? Nope, it does not. That is my preference with a lightweight tactical 22, the 5.5 pound 1522, for example. I like just single point. That's what you see me run. The kel-tec SU22 you see in the background, like you saw in the review, wearing a 2-point sling with a homemade front sling attachment going through the foregrip there. Just depends. I like the single point sling. Some dudes may want to run a 2-point. Again, with a lightweight 22, my preference, single point sling. Some type of sling attachment capability, though, is mandatory for the type. Next up, mandatory feature, at least a 25-round magazine. Again, here's a 15-22 magazine. It's a good example of the type. Pretty much every gun on the table has at least that capability. Black Dog magazine in the 522 also works in the SU-22, Tactical Innovations, and the Ruger 1022. Why do you need that magazine capacity? You know, Nutnfancy, can't you have a Tactical 22 with a 10-round magazine, you know, and I have a light attachment, all that stuff? Nope, not according to my definitions. Oh, so sorry. Here's why. Because you need to shoot a lot, again, especially if you're mimicking the centerfire version of your tactical carbine, you need to shoot the same number of rounds or at least have that capability. That's one reason. Another reason is just fun factor. I mean, if you're shooting 10 rounds, you're out of ammo, you have to load again. Dude, that sucks. Trust me, it's not fun. Also, form factor of the magazines. They have to be tall enough to fit in standard LBE. A lot of the shorter mags, like the Marlin 10 rounders, they're very small. You're going to have a dedicated pouch. By the way, we are making such a thing here in the Nutnfancy project. Stay tuned. Kind of cool if you do want to run that style of magazine. The bigger magazine, though, to closely approximate the firepower form factor of the centerfire version, mandatory. Okay, so those are the big features. Mandatory for a tactical 22. Here's nice to have. How about a pistol grip? Don't need it. It's nice to have. The kel-tec SU-22, it's buried under there, but it doesn't have a pistol grip. You know, and it's still a tactical 22 in my book. It's not a mandatory feature. If we decide to integrate offhand drills, maybe transitioning to your offhand, I think it's really helpful. Just controlling the gun better. Also, nice to have, not mandatory. A good trigger. Okay, again, I have a Rock River Arms 2-stage slammed into this 15-22, and it dominates. Love it. Man, what a good trigger that is. And yeah, fits in the 15-22. Just like I said in my review. Amazing. I'm a trigger guy. I like good triggers. I'm willing to spend some money on them to get them. Not everybody's that way. It's absolutely not mandatory. But here's a Tapco run and gun special. That's wearing, I think, a Clark trigger is what I put in this one. And that's a very sweet 1022 triggers. There's other ones out there to include Volcorts. And also, you can just get a trigger job by a number of great gunsmiths. I think Yoda at Impact Guns does a great job in 1022s. All right, BUIS, that is backup iron sights. In this case, backup polymer sights, co-witness through your optic. Do you need that? Nope, you don't. It sure adds to the fun, though, and it adds capabilities. Let me see, not capabilities, but possibilities in the Nutnfancy run and gun. If everybody shows up and they have backup iron sights, co-witness through their optics, we can do a drill simulating the failure of your red dot, your reflex sight. Awesome. You're going to see that in TMP. Okay, and it'll be like no notice. The shooter's going, he has his optic, and then boom, you reach over, turn his optic off. Transition iron will be the call. Excellent. Again, training, fun, recreation, all those fun things. You don't need them. In fact, there's several types on the table here that I don't have that set up at all. The SIG 522 totally doesn't even have sights at all given. Again, I slammed kind of that in the review of the gun. I think that's low value, SIG. You should throw iron sights on this. Have them low profile, folding variety, just like you do on the centerfire version. Hello, got to keep up with Smith & Wesson. They're doing it. About the same price point too. Here's another one. Nice to have, not necessary. Adaptive ergos is what I'm going to call that. Oh, a new Nutnfancy term. It's my term too. I'm not stealing it from anybody. Adaptive ergos. What I mean by that is you have the ergonomics on your gun such that it will transfer over to your primary tactical carbine, your centerfire version, your go-to-war tactical carbine. The 1522 has that. Again, a good representation of the type. Just like an AR-15, the pistol grip, the stock, the 90-degree selector lever, where the bolt release is, the magazine catch, the rail, the BUIS, everything except the weight, it's lighter, mimics a regular AR-15. Adaptive ergos will transfer to your AR-15. And it has the very critical and much talked about in my review, last shot hold open, which is pretty sweet, right? I love that. There we go. That's a good representation right there. And very few tactical 22s have that. If you can get it, get it. Absolutely. Doesn't mean that if you don't have adaptive ergos, it's not a tactical 22. Ruger 1022. And dudes, you've seen this several times in video, right? I showed it to you after I Duracoated. Again, that's Duracoated Coyote Tan, I think. Or Coyote Brown, flat, tactical Coyote Brown. And I think that's Cav Arms Foliage Green up there. Real quick, guys want to know, I'll just go over the features. This is wearing a 16-inch barrel, welded on YHM 5C2 flash suppressor. Man, that's a wicked flash suppressor. My favorite as of 2010. Tapco stock, of course. The older style Phoenix P3D light. You know, up to 25 yards, it still works. Beyond 25, the beam washes out a little bit. And that's a tactical illuminator mount screwed into the side.
Nice.
You know, once upon a time, Tapco did not include rail space on the side of stock. Huh. I made a call for it, and they do now, for whatever reason, so that's cool. There's a shortened Tapco grip, and they didn't make that at the time, so I just took my hacksaw and made it myself. They make them now. Yep. I don't know if they're watching Nutnfancy over there at Tapco, probably. There's a Power Custom charging handle, Tactical Innovations 25 round mags. I think that's, excuse me, Power Custom bolt release down there. That's a factory Ruger extended magazine release. And then, oh, what else I got on there? I forget. Oh yeah, Adco 8030, 2 MOA red dot. Whew. Ruger 1022, Nutnfancy run and gun special. Okay, what I was going to tell you though is this does not mimic a centerfire gun, right? It's an animal all to itself, correct? So if I do a lot of trigger time on that, what am I practicing for?
No, skip that.
The Ruger 1022, right? Nothing wrong with that. That's why I say it's nice to have adaptive ergos, but you don't absolutely need it. Okay? Also, nice to have. Adjustable length of pull. Here we go with the Tapco stock. Nice representation of the type. You know, do you need an adjustable length of pull? Well, the kel-tec SU-22, this one right here, doesn't have it. I still love that gun. But I'll tell you, if I can get it, I love it. Especially in the drills I'm talking about. Remember, advanced tactical carbine drills. Kind of. I'm using that terminology for lack of something better. The stuff you've seen us do in the Nutnfancy style run and gun. A lot of it is rollover prone on your side. Just like you saw in Firefight, okay? That's where an adjustable LOP helps so much, especially through the seasons. You know, we're running in 100-degree heat in the summer, then it starts blowing snow, you know, it's 15 degrees outside, you're wearing maybe a couple layers of clothing. Maybe I can adjust my length of pull to compensate for that. Yep, I know, I've got a red dot sight on it. Don't really, you know, have a scope with critical eye relief, but it's still nice to have that LOP adjustment. Nice to have on a Tactical 22, not mandatory. And speaking of optics, this is kind of an aside, a detour, if you will. I pretty much go red dots on my Tactical 22s. I'm kind of jumping ahead to where I'm going to go. That's because most of these guns are close range. You know, 50 yards inside. Occasionally we'll shoot just for goofing around out to 100 yards with a Tactical 22. More often than not, though, it's close range, on steel, rapid fire. The red dot sight works perfectly. And no, I'm not going to go spend $500 on an EOTech or an aim point. Just won't. I'd rather go with something high value. You know, the Adco 8030, it's a medium quality, you know, pretty good red dot sight. The only problem is it doesn't go bright enough. I'll tell you what, that Bushnell TRS 25, previously reviewed, recommended here in TMP, rocks in this POU. Excellent. Red dot sights, not necessary. I mean, I run optics. I'm talking scopes too. So that is the official Nutnfancy project definition of the Tactical 22. Mandatory features, nice to have features. And if I didn't hit it hard enough, if you can get that last shot hold open for training adaptive ergonomics, get it by all means. Whew. Jumping into POU. Lots to discuss, I told you that. First up, this is the primary POU on Tactical 22s. And some dudes may be totally surprised I'll say this. Recreation. Fun. That's right, that you get a Tactical 22, yes, with all the features I've just discussed, and you do it mainly for recreation. That you get out and you do your own running guns. You set your own action targets up, you know, those steel ones that I absolutely love. Shooting steel, shoot paper, heck, you can shoot cans, just having a good time. Man, it's a fun time. So recreation is the #1 reason I think most folks will own a Tactical 22. Philosophy #2, and some of this stuff I've covered again in my tabletop. Sorry for the repetition. This video needs to be standalone. #2 reason is something I just talked about. A tactical carbine training tool. Okay? that you're training your muscle memory. Again, those adaptive ergonomics I'm talking about. In this philosophy of use, this is not a Saturday afternoon range gun. Okay, this is not a gun that I'm just going to go out to the local range Saturday afternoon, spend a couple hours shooting paper. This is a working gun when you're talking about a tactical carbine trainer. It's going to wear dirt just like mine do. It's going to get dirty. It's going to be shot a lot. Okay, it's a tool that you're going to use in your own running guns in your training. And that is why, primarily, I like tactical 22s, is you can do that with them. Okay, we'll talk about another one here too.
Up you go.
Also, like I said in the 1522, maybe it is an accessories test bed. Okay, test bed in that we can shoot something a lot, really see if it works before we go to the time and expense of equipping other guns with it. Maybe it's a TRS-25, maybe it's the MOE hand grip, the MOE buttstock, maybe it's the Rock River Arms trigger, maybe it's, you know, what is that? I think that's an Ergo VG on there. You know, M-Bus, whatever. You know, we slam it on our AR-15 test bed in this situation. Could be the other guns as well. See if it works for us. And the reason I say test bed is because since it is so affordable to shoot, we can shoot it a lot. Really get out there and ring it out and see if it works. And we'll determine in the environment that we're shooting in, again, the rain, the snow, the night, the dust, the dirt, if it fails us. That's what I try to do here in TMP, is give you those data points as best I can. But you'll do your own too, and you'll say, hey, this works for me. I really like, I don't know, for instance, a TRS-25. So I'm going to equip my other AR-15 with it. It's a test bed. Okay, number 3 POU. And this is kind of what a lot of guys do. It's a project gun in and of itself. Maybe they shoot it a lot. Maybe they'll never shoot it ever. And they just enjoy having it. They enjoy fixing it up. Guess what? That's what this Ruger 1022 was for me. Total project gun. And my POU on this was a tactical 22 to set up for a Nutnfancy running gun. Every feature you see on this gun is designed to that end. Super lightweight, you know, serving a direct purpose to enhance speed, reliability, and ergonomics. Whew, I know, a lot to say. It is though. But on the other hand, it was a project gun. It was fun putting this stuff on. You know, the Duracoat takes some work. I loved how it turned out. It was just a project gun. It gives pride of ownership to have a project gun. Probably a lot more affordable than a lot of other centerfire options. Okay? And just for that reason alone, I think it makes sense to own a tactical 22. Moving on. How about survival gun? Yep, that's another valid philosophy of use for all the guns on the table. Some guys may laugh. They'll say 22 is a joke. Well, right on. You know, it's a joke, whatever. But where's that, you know, 223, 6.5 SPC, 308, you know, carbine that you love so much when you really need it? It's probably going to be out back at your place, or it's going to be in your vehicle, and it's not going to be with you. Okay, when SAWC is a primary consideration, like in our survival kits, maybe one of these 22s is going to come along for the ride because they are so lightweight. I said as much in the SU-22 review, right? See, this sucker's 4.5 pounds, dudes. 4.5 pounds. You know, the magazines, the BDM magazines are 6.5 ounces. They're a little bit chunky if you ask me. That's doable. And they have a decent firepower at 25 rounds. Okay, as opposed to some other 22 options. Some excellent options, kind of like the Marlin Papoose. I absolutely love that gun, but it's limited to 10 rounds, you know, and that's it. There's some other garbage higher capacity magazines out there. They don't work. You know, survival gun. Absolutely. You could use it for that and it'd function well. That's the POU of the Tactical 22 as I see it now, subject to change with my experience and what I learn as I go along. Okay, let's rock and roll. I'm going to start off talking about the highs and lows of the Tactical 22. We're going to transition into the lows, the disadvantages, the bad things of the Tactical 22. Okay, a main reason I'm making this video is to discuss this stuff. So you go in with open eyes and you have realistic expectations on your purchase, whatever gun it is. And I recommend everything on the table here. I wouldn't review it if I didn't, generally speaking. First, a disadvantage. Tactical 22, you guys know this. It's been this way, and I've said it in my review. Views, as in plural. Less reliability. Wah, wah. That sucks. I know it sucks. Tell me about it. Very few of the Tactical 22s I've tested are 100% reliable. Only one, in my experience, SIG 522. Has an amazing highly engineered bolt system that just seems to work.
Bad guy
Good
behind you.
ammo, not so good ammo, still works. Again, you know, if there's something obviously attributable to the ammunition, I will not fault the gun. Most of the other guns, however, are going to bobble once in a while. Maybe often when they're dirty. The 1522 did it with me. I talked about it in a review. The SU-22 by kel-tec has done it. My Ruger 1022s jam on me. Yes, even with the outstanding Tactical Innovations magazine. It happens. There's things you can do to minimize that, to maybe enhance your reliability. First up, you might want to use, I don't know, high impulse 22 ammunition. I love the CCI solid mini mags. You know, pushing out 1,235 feet per second, it says there on the cart, and they're 40 grainers. I like the maximum heavy, you know, the solids for the max weight I can get out of it. Seems to enhance reliability for me. Now here's some 37 grain Super X Winchester hollow points. These are good rounds as well. A lot of times though, you know, if I'm just, you know, dinking around, I'm gonna save some money. I may fire this stuff. Federal bulk pack, available from Walmart. You'll get some failures to fire. I mean, just there's no primer in the round, just fails to go off. Keep in mind it's rimfire. Okay, it's an imperfect ammunition. Okay, if you want center fire reliability, you know, pay for center fire. Reliability though, it is what it is. Snapshot in time, state of the art, 2010, last part of 2010. Very few 100% reliable tactical carbines. That's just the way it is. Oh yeah, keep your gun clean too. Like I've mentioned in my reviews. I mean, really clean it, lubricate it frequently, and you'll have your best shot with that high impulse ammo to have less problems. That's honestly a turnoff for a lot of dudes. They're like, hey, I love the Tactical 22, I do not like the jams. I understand. How about this though? You know, do you like the economy of it? Oh wait, I'm bleeding over to advantages. I'll get there in a second. Okay, disadvantage. Gotta stay on topic. Disadvantages, Tactical 22, the low, it has less blast and recoil. Yep, I term that a disadvantage because of training. And also for fun. I really like shooting the centerfire. You know, the AKs, the AR-15s, they're fun to shoot, and it's good training to overcome the blast and recoil, stay on target, connect, especially when you're doing run and gun, you're amping your stress level a little bit. 22s are very anemic. They're very quiet, you know, and some guys just don't dig it as much. It just doesn't give, as much an enjoyment. It is what it is. Next disadvantage, TOF. Wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. Tink. Time of flight with a 22 pretty much sucks. Yep, it does. And if you are shooting centerfire like 223, then you go to your Tactical 22, you will really notice it. I mean, it is very evident to you when you're shooting this stuff how long it takes for the bullet to get to your target. That's another reason I like keeping the targets in with 22s. You know, some guys, well, you can shoot at 100 yards. Yes, you can. You're going to be waiting for that round to connect. Tink. No, I know, it's not that long, but it's kind of obnoxious. TOF is an issue with this stuff. Okay, disadvantage. I'm just telling you as I see it. How about this? It's range limited. Okay, so that is both a disadvantage and, as we'll talk about, a high or an advantage. But when we're talking about a low, it means probably beyond 100 yards, you shouldn't be shooting your Tactical 22 in the run and gun. That's just my mileage. You may differ. There you have it. Those are the lows of the Tactical 22. Less reliable, less recoil blast, long TOF, range limited. Now on to the fun stuff. The advantages, the highs of the Tactical 22. In my opinion, I think they outweigh the other stuff. Goes something like this. How about economy? Remember I was telling you, guys say, hey, I don't like the centerfire. I mean, I don't like the rimfire. You know, less reliable. Well, do you like the price? Because this stuff is generally 1/10 the cost of centerfire ammunition. Okay, that makes high round count drills possible. In firefight, we were expending 140 rounds per run. To be honest with you, that was a little much. I mean, as in tiring for us, for the shooters. It's exhausting because we're not just sitting in one place. Transitioning to barricade, prone, kneeling, standing, running, shooting while walking. It was exhausting. But those round counts, 140 rounds, would you ever do that with centerfire? Are you insane? You'll go broke. Get your credit card ready. Huge advantage of the Tactical 22, and the reason I advocate the type in training and for recreation, stuff I've talked about, is because of the economy. First and foremost, Secondly, I told you it was range limited, but in a way, its range limitation is a good thing because it makes close range steel engagement possible. You know what I'm saying? So we get those steel plates out there. Heck, we can set them up at 15 yards if we want. 25 yards, all over. Can you do that with your 223, your AK? No way, dude. I mean, you're going to be, you know, endangering yourself, damaging your steel, just like the instructions from AT says. Don't do it. Rimfire, absolutely. That is a huge advantage of the Tactical 22. Close range, rapid fire engagements on steel. And by the way, steel is fast. It scores quickly. You hear it, gives immediate feedback. Ding, 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 ding. I know I hit it when I hit it. I don't have to waste time taping up a target. So fun. Hard to do with centerfire. Very hard. You can do it with paper targets, and that's what we've done a lot. You know, PBGs, paper bad guys in TMP. You've seen that like lots. Slows everything down, though. After each run, you got to go score it. You got to go tape it. There's 20 minutes each time. Okay. Another thing is you can shoot pigs. I call them pigs. Stand-up steel targets with centerfire. We've done it a lot here in TMP. I haven't really shown on camera a lot. You will see it more in the future. Pigs are great. It's a great way to shoot centerfire, but they're sitting low to the ground, the kind we have. Still not ideal. Advantages. How about it is quieter? You know, I talked about the blast and the recoil and how that was kind of a bad thing. Well, in a lot of ways, and depending where you shoot, it could be a very good thing. Okay, that it is quieter. Even without a suppressor, a 22, not that loud. I mean, if you watch my firefight vid and the review videos I've done, it's just, granted we're out in wide open spaces out in the desert there. Sound doesn't go very far when it's wide open like that. But maybe you have a place you're shooting, you don't want to attract a lot of attention. You know, centerfire brings people asking questions. It's loud. It carries, you know, for a mile or more. You know, 22's very quiet. That's an advantage. You can shoot more places with it. Along with that, I think you have less stringent backdrop and range, you know, requirements with a 22 long rifle. Don't get me wrong. I'm always shooting into a very safe place. I don't care what caliber it is. But with a 22, I think we have a little more latitude of, you know, the backdrops we can use. Still ground, you know, dirt, mounds of dirt, stuff like that. I hope you know what I'm saying with that. Finally, advantage of the Tactical 22. Again, this is the outstanding SIG 522. Still lacking that rail. Man, that bugs me. Less intimidating to shoot. Young shooters, female shooters, new shooters. Probably dudes, the last thing you want to do is go slam them on to a high recoil, high blasting, so to speak, centerfire gun, whether it's a pistol, a tactical carbine. To you, it may not seem that way. It may not seem that it recoils and blasts a lot, and if it does, you just love it. But you're a gun guy. You get into it, man. They do not. It intimidates them. It's going to scare them away. You know, I speak from my own family experience. My oldest son, Tactical Doodle, when he was younger, you know, I put him on a Mini 14 when he was like 6. He thought the world was going to end when he was shooting that. Boom! He's like, I don't like this, Dad. I'm like, dude, it's really not that much. You can try to convince them as much as you want. They will not see it your way. You have to ease them into it. Tactical 22, great way to do that. Again, maybe you're going to have the added benefit of adaptive ergonomics because they're used to the type. You're shooting the M&P 1522. You train your little scout, and then one day Jedi Knight. Jedi. Harkening back to my gun safety for kids video, you know, and they're going to be used to the ergos. And then you go, hey kid, you know, hey son, it's time to upgrade to the centerfire AR-15. They're probably going to be ready for it. It's a great way to ease them in. Those are the advantages of the Tactical 22, and the disadvantages, the lows, the highs and lows as I see them. As of 2010, subject to change. It's mostly a good thing, especially when you have a really good gun like the SIG 522. M&P 1522, kel-tec SU22, even a customized Ruger 1022. Excellent choices in the realm of Tactical 22. This is again a 22 that is outfitted and every bit capable of an advanced tactical carbine drill, transitioning to pistol, all types of weather, day or night. Highs and lows of the Tactical 22 philosophy video on rimfire from Nutnfancy. Thanks for coming along for the reviews, for the adventures, more to follow.